The Nathan Ivey Show is supported by listeners. Go to www.patreon.com/Nathan Ivey Show and help Nathan keep the show independent.
Bloomberg Black Business Report. I'm Donna Wilson. Nielsen is out with its annual survey on the Black consumer. While Blacks are avid consumers of all forms of media, Blacks listen to the radio more, stream more audio than the general population, and spend more time on their smartphones than any other ethnic group. Overall, smartphone ownership for African Americans have grown to 98%. Black consumers are the number one ethnic group in watching live TV, playing game consoles, smartphone media consumption, and streaming audio. And some advertisers have caught on. The top 20 advertisers spend on media focused on Blacks rose to $3.86 billion last year. And over the past decade, there have been more successful Black brands, Black-owned businesses, and investment in expanded economic opportunities for African Americans. That's your Bloomberg Black Business Report. I'm Donna Wilson.
State Senator Cecil Thomas asking you to vote for Charmaine McGuffey for Sheriff of Hamilton County. As a former police officer, I know Charmaine is the only qualified candidate to be sheriff. She stands with our community and will lead with accountability. Her opponent used excessive force in the killing of an unarmed Black man and led the highly controversial Vortex unit. He is the last person we need to lead our sheriff's office. Trust the judgment of someone who knows. Vote Charmaine McGuffey for sheriff, a vote for justice.
This is Charmaine McGuffey asking for your vote. Paid for by people for McGuffey for sheriff.
So many Democrats voting for Charlie Winburn. Democrat Malcolm Timmons.
I'm voting for Charlie Winburn because he's a man that does what he says he's going to do, and he gets things done for our community.
Democrat Nettie Matthews.
Of course I'm voting for my brother Charlie Winburn because he cares about the Black community.
Democrat Paul Booth.
I'm voting for my longtime friend Charlie Winburn. He will put people over party.
Democrat Zakiya Allen.
I'm voting for Charlie Winburn because he has a positive track record in our community.
Democrat Charles Wiley.
I am voting for Charlie Winburn because he will be accountable to us.
Democrat Klein Carricker.
I'm voting for Charlie Winburn because he helps to train hundreds of African Americans through his leadership masterclass.
Democrat Jafanya Wynn.
I'm voting for Charlie Winburn because he cares about women with children, providing child care and a school for K through 8th graders.
Democrat T. Renee.
I want to see the first African-American county treasurer elected after 230 years.
Vote Charlie Winburn for Hamilton County Treasurer.
Paid for by friends of Charlie Winburn.
This is the Nathan Ivey Show. Get ready to be engaged. Get ready to be informed. Get ready to be enraged by the man City Beat magazine called a talk radio rebel. And your host, now back to the show.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Do one thing every day that scares you. Step outside your comfort zone, family. Good morning to you. As we get started this morning, I want to say that I wish you a happy Friday. Hope your day is going excellent. So far, mine is good. Good to see you. Good to be with you as always. On today's show, I want to make sure we understand one another. It is clear to me there was a clear loser in not only last night's debate, but all of the debates, the two debates before that. And that loser is black voters. Black voters are the clear loser in last night's debate. While the pundits will be debating back and forth as to whether it was the incumbent Donald J. Trump or the vice president of Barack Obama, Joe Biden. The reality is, folks, that black voters were almost totally ignored. And the few questions that they did ask 45 minutes into it, in my opinion, were so general, so just, we could have did without it. Good morning to you. Hey, good morning, Kier. Appreciate you. Good morning, good morning, good morning. But what do you think? Did you get a chance to watch any of the so-called debates last night? If so, I want to hear your opinion about it. 513-873-7134. An absolutely glorious morning. Please like and share today's show. When you share the show, more people see it. I know I'm looking scruffy. I might clean this up over the weekend, or who knows? I might rock it like this. Just take a second, family, to like and share today's show. Your shares mean everything. When you share the show, more people see it. So let me share the show. What's up, Jesse? Appreciate you. Yes. Did you get a chance to watch last night? If so, what was your opinion? I want to hear your thoughts about it. My opinion, real simple. We damn near got ignored. They were asking questions about North Korea before they asked about black folks that live in North America. And I'm sick and tired of every presidential election cycle. It's the same old thing, right? It's the same old thing. Oh, stopping by to say hello. Hey, thank you. Appreciate it. Good morning to you. Same old thing. You know, they asking questions about, do you believe institutional racism? I mean, come on. Can we move beyond that and talk about some hard policy questions? How about you throw them a curveball and ask them about no-knock warrants? I mean, why not? You can set a national agenda. You can set your preferences as the executive, the chief executive of this country. No specific questions about black wealth building, even though everybody agrees that if you want to help the black community, that's where one of the places you should start. I'm thankful they didn't talk about Chicago, because that's typically another thing they talk about when they talk about black folks in this country. They want to talk about Chicago. There were shootings in Chicago. What would your administration do, right? I thought that the moderator was weak. She allowed Trump to push to basically threaten to control the debate. That's just my personal opinion. I know she was getting a lot of attaboys from people inside the media, like, oh, wow. But that's only because Trump has lowered the bar so much that when he does anything close to remotely looking at like civilized or mature, he gets props for it. He gets props for it. You know, and again, that's not just Trump. I mean, you can get that in the real life where you have somebody whose behavior is just off the chain all the time. So when they actually do something that's halfway decent, that's halfway is civilized, people give them credit for it. Like people run around here giving Trump credit because he didn't go overboard. Really, in my opinion, family, this was just like the first debate, only just a little bit lighter with the interruptions. But it's just like the first debate. It was no different. Of all three debates, I thought the second a moderator was the best. And there was no black representation whatsoever when it comes to being a moderator in these debates. Even though two things, black folks are the backbone of the Democrat Party, and everybody is saying that the black vote will more than likely determine the outcome of the election, but we can't get a black moderator. And we can't get no real questions about what black voters really care about, which is well documented. If you go to Black Futures Lab, go on their website, they polled 30,000 black voters. You can start right there. You know, there was someone, I don't know who came up with the questions last night, but the questions was whack to me. I'm just being honest with you. I thought it was whack. They could have been better. And in particular, the questions about black folks was whack, just a waste of fucking time, quite honestly. Just a waste of time. Why don't you ask him about Charleston again? Just a wait. No questions about black wealth building. No questions about black home ownership. No questions about how COVID is especially hitting black communities. They talk about COVID as if COVID hitting everybody the same in this country. It's not. It's not. COVID is not touching every community the way it's touching our community. Yeah, they tell us that younger people, like kindergarten age, 5, 6, 7 and younger, that they're least likely to have severe symptoms. But what we now know, family, is that when that demographic dies, it's more than likely one of us. Why? Mr. Biden? Why, Mr. Trump? What are you going to do about it? This past week, what was the big conversation over the last couple of weeks as it relates to the black community and also this election? What was the big conversation? What was everybody talking about? Ice Cube, black agenda. No conversation, no question about the black agenda. But they, and that's the Democrats, Republicans, and the people that put on the presidential commission, that's basically a board of Democrats and Republicans, they think that throwing us a bone and asking some little weak ass question about, do you believe that institutional racism is supposed to satisfy us? They asked about North Korea before they asked about black folks that live in North America. I don't give a damn about Kim Jong-un. We'll get to all of that. And then the question was, Trump was just like, I don't want to answer. I'll answer this. You should ask him this. And they was just bending over for every whim. And I think, see, Trump is smart. Trump was working on the moderator days before the debate actually happened. He does this all the time. He said, oh, Kristen Welker, well, we know she's part of fake news. Now, what is that? What can that potentially do if you're the moderator? You work for a big time news organization, and then weeks before you're supposed to be the moderator, the president of the United States is using his megaphone, which is pretty big. He's got almost 100 million people on Twitter following him, talking about you and how he thinks he's fake, you're fake news, and he doesn't think you're going to be fair. Now, what is that going to do to a lot of people? That's going to make them very sensitive to how they talk to you, because they don't want to be like, oh, well, the president said, he said, oh, they don't want to justify what the president has to say. Trump was working on her. He softened her up like last week on Twitter. Oh, start talking about her progressive ties and her family. Oh boy, well, let me make sure I'm fair to Mr. President when we actually do the debate. It's obvious. It's obvious. And it worked. But those are my general impressions. My general impressions is, I'll say it again, I'm glad to see, the best thing in the world that can happen for black voters is that P. Diddy and his new Our Black Party, or whoever's new black party, a party that is supposed to represent the interest of the descendants of slaves. The best thing in the world that can happen is that candidate can rise to prominence and be on the debate floor 4 years from now. Because as long as you got just Democrats and Republicans, it's always going to be the same. It's always going to be the same. And I'll tell you this, it falls on black media outlets to create those media platforms so we can have the type of experience that we're looking for, so we can get the kind of questions in that's all about us, that matters to our families and our businesses and our health and our well-being, our hustle and our drive to achieve the American dream. Until then, ABC, CNN, it's the same old cast of characters. I ain't impressed by none of the moderators, none of them. The best to me was the second one, the white female, in terms of her questions. Other than that, meh. Did you miss much if you didn't watch last night? Honestly, no, you didn't. There was no home run. There was no Ronald Reagan, I won't make your age a part of this race. There was nobody hit a home run last night. But for people that's into this and you watch this, I want to get your thoughts on it. 513-873-7134. Do you agree with me when I say that black voter issues were totally ignored? Totally ignored. Can we get a question about how you feel about qualified immunity? If only the litmus test for Supreme Court justice had nothing to do with Roe v. Wade, if only it was about qualified immunity. But it's not. Yeah, and Amy Coney Barrett is set to be voted into the Supreme Court on Monday. These Republicans got it done quick. They don't give a damn. If it costs them a couple Senate seats, so what? Hey, the Supreme Court is longer than that. U.S. Senate, what is that? Term is 6 years. Supreme Court, lifetime. Cha-ching. But those are my just initial thoughts. What's your thoughts on the family? 513-873. Hold on one second. 873. There we go. 7134. Just a little bit too much light in my eyes this morning. How you doing? Hope you're doing well. That's just the tip of the iceberg, man. There's a whole lot of things we got to talk about this morning. If you live in the Cincinnati area, people are sounding the alarm. They're picking up media now is sounding the alarm about COVID-19. Cincinnati Inquirer, how did COVID-19 go red in Ohio? We let our guards down. Yep, we sure did. We sure did. All you got to do is go out and you'll see people with their guard down, no mask on. Everybody's trying to push the kids back to school. Everybody's get back. We're not done yet. This isn't over. The governor of Ohio is sounding the alarm. The vast majority of people that live in Ohio are living in a county where the threat level is at least red. The vast majority of people who live in Ohio live in a county where the COVID infection rate is level red. There's only one higher, and that's purple. And if you believe with Mike DeWine and all the smart people in Ohio who being taxed to deal with this, the scientists, right? Then we're headed toward purple. Are you prepared? Get ready. They're talking about wearing masks into 2022, y'all. We haven't even got to 2021. Can we at least peek behind that door before we assume that we're going into 2022? No, because the smart cats are telling us that's what's going to happen. I've told my audience, I'll tell you again, buckle up for the long, 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 long run. Find your happiness in uncomfortable places like what we're doing right now, because we're going to be here for a while. We're going to be here for a while. It is what it is. COVID-19 ain't going nowhere. And yeah, we can blame Trump. He was slow on the draw. He was slow. He was very slow. But what about our governor? What about all the governors? What about these folks running around here, these mask deniers? What about these folks? What about the folks that put money over human life? They're just as guilty, in my opinion. It is what it is. But here we go, family. Buckle up. So a couple things. This is long-term planning and long-term thinking. If you've been telling yourself, well, things are going to go back to normal, get that out your head. Get it out of your head this morning. This is normal. This is the new normal. Get ready with it. Get ready for it. Get comfortable with it. Embrace it. Learn how to thrive, not just survive in these COVID-19 days and times, because they ain't going nowhere. I've been reading in the city of Cincinnati, some of these bars have been coming up with different ideas because they want to make money, right? They want to keep the doors open, right? You start a restaurant and a bar, that's your business. You want to make money. I get it. Well, COVID's going to touch a lot of businesses. Everybody's got to rethink their plan. Everyone has to rethink their plan. 513-873-7134. Everyone has to rethink their plan. Did you hear the Bloomberg Urban Report as it relates to some of the media trends of black people? Now, I'm already aware of this. That was just a reminder to me about how black people are consuming their media. Black folks are consuming their media on radio. People say, well, radio is dying. Well, that's one way of looking at it. I wouldn't say that radio is dying. I've corrected people, even people I've done business with, like, yeah, radio is dying. Radio is not that radio is dying. It's just that radio has serious competition with the internet. It's just as easy these days to get into your vehicle and turn on something on the internet as it is and as it has been to turn on your radio. That's always been one of the pluses of radio, is that it's in cars. You get on the car, you turn to your favorite dial, boom, your favorite infotainment is right there. The internet is on par. I would even say it's even easier to get on the internet via your smartphone. One of these. Black folks are on this more and more and more and more. That's why I like digital media. That's why Send Digital Media is here to take advantage of that wave. And it ain't stopping. Did you hear the amount of money that they're spending on connecting with black folks through those digital mediums? That's why you're seeing a whole lot of it. You're going to see more and more of these digital media companies. And there's so many out there already, but you're going to see more of it. Why not? It's the dawn of a new era. It's the digital era. Remember, the revolution will be digitized. It will not be televised. It will be digitized. Good morning to you. 513-873-7134. There were a few moments in the debate last night that were utterly ridiculous to me. I mean, just back and forth. He said, I get it. I get it. It was cool. I mean, I'm there for the sizzle too. Don't forget, I'm there for the sizzle. But like I told you, the big takeaway for me is that black voters lost. Even though we are the backbone of the Democrat Party, and even though allegedly the Republican Party is trying to court our votes, no African-American moderator. And essentially, I think throughout the entirety, you may have had like maybe 8 questions, pardon me, in total over 3 debates. None of them really hit the mark. None of them hit the mark whatsoever as it relates to the black family. There was no conversation about, credit opportunities for black entrepreneurs. There was no specific conversations about recovery plans for black businesses that are being especially hit hard. There was no conversation about public schools. There was no conversation about numerous issues. But they want to ask about some damn institutional racism. I get it, but they asked that question in the first debate and the second debate. Why were you asking the same damn question again? Why are you asking about Kim Jong-un before you ask about what's happening on Martin Luther King Boulevard and all these different cities and states around the country? That's just me. That's how I look at it. I'll say it again. The Democrats and Republicans are both to blame for this. They conspire to prevent a third-party candidate from challenging their political supremacy. And we lose because of that. We lose. We lose because of it. And in terms of black votes, it's as if you don't even exist during these presidential debates. It's as if you're completely invisible. It used to be Gwen Ifill, dark-skinned sister, PBS. She passed away, I think, to cancer. Since then, it's been all downhill. And I get it. The debates are dominated by the big mainstream media companies, right? Because it's going to be, they're going to be involved with it. And that's why we need some of these black-owned. Like, what's Byron Allen going to do? Byron Allen's got the connects, the resources to make it happen on one of his channels. What him and P. Diddy should team up and start doing maybe some all-black political forums. Why not? On the presidential level, why not? I mean, people have done it. Why not? Because I fear that, not a fear, but I feel that until that happens, then there'll be no real movement. There's really no motivation. A lot of people run around like, way to go, Kirsten, way to go. You did a great job. She ain't did no damn great job. She did a horrible job. She let herself get pushed around all night. How's that a good job? How's that a good job? And then the poll numbers, man, it depends on what media outlet you go to. If you go to a conservative outlet, they're going to tell you Trump won. If you go to what's considered a more liberal outlet, they're going to tell you that it was Biden who won. I did see what appeared to be, they said it was independent voters. They did like a snapshot poll, right? And they said they believe that Trump lost. Okay. That's one way of looking at it. And Fox News is giving Trump a lot of press because he was well-tempered, right? Like I said, it's like the problem child. You got a problem child, probably always giving you issues. When they do a little bit of something that's right, it's like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. You had a breakthrough. Oh, you see him? He actually did the right thing. And that's what's happening with Trump. He's lowered the bar so much that as long as he doesn't turn into a raving lunatic, it's like, oh, good job, Mr. President. We thought you were going to jump out the window again, but you didn't. Stop with all of that. Chill with all of that. Stop that immediately. But good morning to you. Let me jump into the shop this morning. I see Brian Rice, good morning. Tracy Rice, hi. Fox Rice, rise and shine, young stars. Tanika Rice, good morning, Nathan Choppers. Tracy Rice, I would like to know what debates, Rep Dem conventions, has anybody ever released a plan for Black America? Let's not be surprised this morning. Well, I mean, point in fact, both of the candidates have plans for Black America. One is called Lift Every Voice, Joe Biden, and every Black person that plans on voting should go look at that. Don't vote for a presidential candidate until you look at both of those two plans. You got the Platinum Plan, which I think is condescending as hell in the title. That's the Trump administration. And then you got Lift Every Voice, which I think is condescending as hell, you know, from the Biden community, from the Biden campaign. Okay. You got two condescending, in my opinion, themes in the titles, but look at the plans and you tell me who has a better plan, which plan makes more sense, and who do you believe? So they do have plans for Black America. We might not like them, but to say they don't have plans is not true. Ayatollah Khamenei writes, Biden took that L. No mean to save that ass. Good morning, hashtag alt middle. Kruther writes, good morning, choppers. Brandon writes, good morning, Nathan and the choppers. Good to see you, Brandon. Clue Magic writes, grand risings, Nathan and the choppers. The Cheeto took it on the chin, and was a rainbow of colors last night. Tracy writes, it's Scorpio season. I cannot be responsible for what I say over the next 30 days. What? Barack Savage writes, morning choppers. Where's my choppers at that argued me down with that Trump's winning mess from 4 years ago? That fool is collecting boxes for the move. Well, Tracy, Trump was winning 4 years ago. Number one, he won the election. And then what happened shortly thereafter? Well, for the first couple of years, he had all of this scandal involving the Russian collusion investigation and Robert Mueller. Remember this? There were big conversations about how the Republican Party was going to deal with Donald Trump. Will they rein him in? The Republicans have had on their wish list a couple of things, Tracy. One, they wanted to do tax reform so they could give themselves and all their rich friends tax breaks. They did that. And two, they wanted to put more conservative judges on the bench. They've done that. Trump is winning, Tracy. He's been winning. They got the judges they wanted on the federal level. They got the justice they wanted, and now Monday will be the nail in the coffin on the Supreme Court level. They got the tax reform they wanted. That's pretty much it. I mean, that's been the wish list of the Republican Party for years and years and years. So he may not win re-election, but he won. The Republicans won during these 4 years. Mitch McConnell, winner. He won too. There's no doubt about it. Let's call it what it is. She writes, I'm one-on-one today. Yeah, so am I. Clue Magic writes, they are winning so much at Tracy that they are tired of winning. I guess the Cheeto as well as they are ready to lose. We'll see. Mike Jones writes, good morning, choppers. We want to make that fool a one-term president. Yep. We'll see what happens. The fact checkers was killing Trump last night after the debate. Let me guess. They said Trump was lying. Trump's a liar. Trump is a circumstantial liar. It's minute to minute, question to question. Whatever fits, whatever his agenda is in his mind, in that particular moment with that particular question, that's what his answer is going to be, period. That's what it is. Tracy writes, he lied in the first 30 seconds. I'm sure he did. Have y'all seen Jim Neal's wife? It makes sense why he doesn't like Charmaine. She can take his chick. McDuffie and McNeil have the same haircut, huh? What? No, I haven't seen his wife. Speaking of which, there's going to be a press conference today. Hold on, let me check my messages. There's going to be you brought up Charmaine McGuffey. There's going to be a press conference today. I'm not going to be able to be there because it's at 10 and I'll just be getting off the air, and then I'll be doing some stuff for my son, and then getting ready for the Is It Just Me podcast at 12:30 today. But let me go back and check this out. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, there's going to be it went out to the media. So here it is. There's going to be law enforcement leaders call out Hofbauer's record of excessive force killing an unarmed black man. That's going to be State Senator Cecil Thomas, who's a retired police officer, and Derek Bauman, who's a retired police officer. Derek Bauman, of course, has announced he's running for city council. This is going to be at 10 a.m. today at the Hamilton County Justice Center steps. And they're going to talk about Bruce Hofbauer's record of excessive force. Okay. Interesting. So we'll see. I'm sure it'll be on Facebook. Just follow either one of those two gentlemen, and I'm sure you get a chance to see it if you're interested in it. I don't know how much that's going to sway voters. I mean, how much do Hamilton County voters really care about the fact that Bruce Hofbauer killed an unarmed black man 20-something years ago? Well, I think it depends on who you are and what you're sensitive about. Like for me, post George Floyd, it was everything. I need to know. I want to hear. It needs to make sense to me. Make this make sense to me, because this is a whole new era. We have a whole new set of expectations. And I'll be honest with you, I've been very disappointed. Straight up, I tell you, I don't. It says something about Bruce Hofbauer, his response to me, in my personal opinion. It says something about the man. But I get it. When he said, hey, I had to do what I had to do, and I was afraid, and he was displaying superhuman strength. He was breaking glass with his bare hands, and he had no pain threshold, which I don't know. That seems like a medical diagnosis. I don't know how you can ascertain that. Just because somebody, I don't know, isn't visibly, in pain doesn't mean they don't feel pain, or I don't know how that works, but that's some of that cop lingo, I bet. Some of that cop lingo. All right, he had no pain threshold. The chief of police said that about a black man who had a knife, was down in the West End. He was completely surrounded by police officers. One Cincinnati police officer in a Keystone Cop moment damn near killed this man because he thought that he was loading some non-lethal rounds into a shotgun, but he loaded live rounds and pointed it and fired at the man. Thank God he's a bad shot, or we would have had a local incident, all due to the incompetence of a Cincinnati police officer. Whatever happened to that officer? Is that officer still on the force? Probably. You know how the game goes. But anyway, they shooting this dude with beanbags, and because he doesn't go down immediately, the chief of police, a black man, comes out in a press conference and says, oh, he exhibited no pain. Wait a minute. Just because you didn't get the desired outcome, meaning that it subdued whoever you were trying to subdue, doesn't mean they're not feeling pain. We should be more specific in the way that we use language and the words that we use, because they can have consequences. You fire a beanbag round at somebody and they don't go down. You say, well, we fired a round at him and he didn't go down. To say that he didn't have a pain, he doesn't feel pain, sort of puts this person on a superhuman level. And when black people are perceived as superhuman in the face of law enforcement, what happens? They get shot and killed. That's what happens. I think Trump won because he was just a tad bit calmer than you are, just as crazy as that clown in office. We'll see. Brian writes, one thing I hate about politics of Americans, we're only brought to the table when it comes to crime. It's so insulting from both parties. Yeah, Brian's on the right track. Yeah, they on the national level, they act like the only, and by they, I'm talking about the people that process and come up with the questions and deliver the questions during these last three debates. It's as if they think that the only thing black people care about is Breonna Taylor and police brutality. Now that's on the list. Oh, you definitely got our attention. But that's not the only thing that we care about. The real loser from last night was black voters. The real loser from all the debates was black voters. That's just my take on it. What do you think? 513-873-7134. Biden brought up black wealth building, though. The Cheeto, not so much. All he did was repeat what he always said about how Biden's crime bill hurt criminals. Yeah, you could tell that Trump has his talking points in his head. I bet those that think Trump is winning cannot repeat his plan for America for the next 4 years. Did he mention it? His plan for America is to get us back to where we were pre-COVID. In Trump's mind, at least what he articulates, before COVID, everything was perfect. The unemployment rate was low for everybody. It was all due to him. Everybody was eating good, like paid in full. We all eating B. We all gonna eat B. But what world was he living in? I don't remember that. And these black voices for Trump should call out Trump for saying over and over again that Trump's been the best president for black folks since Abraham Lincoln. Would you like to do a national poll on that, Mr. President? Because something tells me that black folks ourselves would probably respond differently. I'm just saying. Now, I know there's some black folks, because of business interests, they'll say, well, listen, Trump policies actually benefit me. Cool. I get it. I've talked to many, many black men in this city who said that to me on the low. Like, Jan's with you, Trump policies actually work for me. I get it. That's your business interest. But what about the interest for the larger black community? Does that matter at all? I don't know. Well, like what 50 Cent said, what Bob Johnson said, that's emblematic, and that's a reflection of what a lot of black capitalists think. I'm just here to tell you, like, everybody want to get on 50, but there's a lot of black men, black capitalists, right, out here making money. They might be in a different tax bracket, and they identify completely with what Bob Johnson, founder of BET, said. Well, I'll take the devil that I know as a businessman over the devil that I don't. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Barack O'Savage writes, Biden do have a plan about black home ownership. He mentioned it in his town hall meeting last week. I mean, they both have websites. Go to their website, do your due diligence. We know what it is. We do, Brian. There's nothing to talk about as it relates to Ice Cube. His plan won't be implemented. Well, I disagree with you, Tracy. I mean, there's plenty to talk about. The agenda in and of itself, all of their agendas. I would have loved to have heard a question specific about the black agenda, right? Just a question. I'm not saying it's going to give us so much insight, but I would have preferred that, a question about a black, like, tell us what your black agenda is. What is your plan to increase home ownership? What is your plan to get access to capital to black startups, to black entrepreneurs? What's your plan on all of these? I want to hear something like that. Since more and more black people are turning toward the internet and digital pathways to connect on for entertainment and news, what is your plan to make sure that black creators, such as myself, such as many of you, will have unfiltered access as we currently do now, kind of, sort of, when it comes to the internet? I mean, there's a host of questions that get to the heart of what black voters care about. What about wages? You know what I'm saying? There's a host of questions rather than the same old, what do you think about institutional racism? Why do you think that black folks remain in fear? Can you understand? We know, listen, we passed understanding. What is your plan? Kristen Welker is known as the constant professional in her industry. Yeah, she constantly got professionally bullied last night by Donald Trump over and over again. Brian writes, they should have had to debate about black moderator each. They should have had to debate with a black moderator each presidential debate. I agree. I learned in parent-teacher conferences last night that teachers cannot legally make virtual students turn their cameras on. They don't even know if kids are in class or at the store. Is that right? Legally? Yeah, my daughter was just telling us that she's got a teacher that is going to make having the camera on a part of the participation grade. I get it. I'm not a teacher. I'm not sure how I would feel about that if I was a teacher. Another shutdown over the holidays, and I'm here for it. Is that right, Barack? Crystal's in the house. She writes, good morning. Governors are so scared of these white militias. They want their gym to stay open, so they're bad. They're willing to they're willing to try to abduct politicians to keep things open. We saw it. Sharp Rice TGIF, good morning to you. King Koblat writes, black folks can only blame themselves for city going purple. So who's going to hire a DJ for line dancing on the Purple People Bridge? Have a Prince hologram concerts and watch mass nigwas be in attendance, LOL. Well, I mean, listen, I just feel like some of this stuff is Darwinian on some levels. It's like a thinning of the herd. I mean, if you want to go out there and bring COVID, if you're a COVID denier, you want to go out there and bring COVID back to your family, you go right ahead. More clean food, water, and air for the rest of us. Good riddance to you. You know what I'm saying? If you want these COVID-19 deniers, I don't have no sympathy for you. I don't have no sympathy for if you want these anti-maskers and it takes you out the game. Well, we'll see you on the other side, homie. You know what I'm saying? Keep the light on, keep the porch light on until we get there. It's a wrap for you. Like Herman Cain, I don't have no sympathy for you whatsoever. None. Because it's too easy to do the right thing. We all know what we need to be doing. Either do it or don't. Simple as that. Where has the Black News Channel, BNC, been at during this period? Well, Brian, that's an excellent question, man. I was just checking on BNC the other day. They seem to be up. The problem with BNC, and I don't know, I mean, who am I to tell these folks, these smart, intelligent folks to do what they do? But the problem with BNC was the same problem they had when they launched. I think it's an excellent idea. I love it. We need as many black news channels and organizations as possible. Okay, that's great. But it's on cable. It's on cable. I don't even have cable anymore. How many people are cutting the cord? People are going to these Fire Sticks, or you're just doing the YouTube thing. You don't need cable these days. So I just felt like maybe that wasn't a good placement. I would have loved to see them maybe on YouTube or something like that, or on the internet. How about that? And cable could just be yet another affiliate. But so no, I don't know where they are. Matter of fact, let me check real quick. Now, I will say this. There are some folks that put together a PAC. It's a black PAC called the Black Economic Alliance. Are you hip to it? Let me hip you to the game if you're not hip. Black Economic Alliance. And to their point, to their credit, I'm on their Facebook page. They haven't posted anything since September 23rd. So I'm not sure. No, I'll take that back. No. They are posting. That's something that's pinned. Yeah, they're up. They're doing news on Africa and all kind of stuff. So, yeah, I'm sure they'll have a loud voice. I'm sure they'll do what they got to do. But, yeah, it's called the Black Economic Alliance. You can Google them. And from what I understand, it's a group of black executives that came together and they started a Black Political Action Committee that's focused on economics. But they, during the primaries, did like the black presidential primary debates. It was actually on BET. I covered it. We talked about it here on the show. So people might circle back. So that to me is a model of what can be done. It's just about, do you really want to do it? So they probably pay for the time on BET, which, we can argue about whether that's the best place to place it or not. And they did these black focused presidential primary forums. Not all of the candidates showed up. Some of them did, some of them did not. But still, and I'll be honest with you, but even in that, I just thought some of the questions, I'm like, well, it just left a lot to be desired. I'm sorry. It is what it is. Let me see. Crystal writes, Rick Santorum secures his political career every time he is on media outlets. He defends the president every time. That's why he's there. Yeah. He was going back and forth with Van Jones. Yeah, that's what he does. Brenda writes, happy Friday. Tracy writes, I didn't say they didn't have plans. The question was, when have you ever heard plans for Black America announced at their conventions and debates? Now, at the convention, they'll come out and say, we got a plan, and go to the website. But at the debates, where I think is even more important, where you can actually get some back and forth, you're right, it doesn't come up. And that's my point this morning. That's why black folks lost. Black voters lost last night. Can someone reiterate the Republicans' Cheeto healthcare plan? Mike, good point. Pat, good morning to you. It's a good point, Mike. No, I cannot. Their plan is anybody but Barack Obama. That's what their plan is. Anybody but Barack Obama. It doesn't matter what it is. As long as it's not Obamacare, as long as Barack Obama's name is not associated, then they love it. That's what their plan is. That's it. Nothing more. But you expected more than that. Hey, what happened in city council yesterday? Because I was looking at council's agenda, and it looked to me as if they had several things to talk about. Excuse me, including the appointment of numerous individuals to a new minority task force. Did you hear about this? So you know that like the invoke thing now is to declare that racism is a healthcare crisis. And this is really being led by the Democrat Party in the state level here. The state Democrat Party Dems have done it. The county Dems have done it. And then the Dems on city council have done as well. And by Dems, I'm talking about Democrats, short for Democrats, right? So that's the new invoke thing, declaring race is a public health crisis. And, I'm for that. I'm for it as long as it leads to equity policy intangibles, right? So in that effort, now city council has put together this minority task force, and they're going to be charged with coming up with plans on how to deliver equity along those lines. So I like it. And, there's a lot of the usual names, quite honestly, same folks, and their names come up because they're in leadership positions, here in Cincinnati and Hamilton County. And, I can run off a few of them. You're going to recognize a lot of them. I would have liked to see some names of some folks, more names of people that I don't recognize, just because there's a whole new breed of leadership out here. And I think they should be represented and representing Cincinnati into the future. There were some new folks. I would like to see more of that, but, it is what it is. And they're going to be tasked, as I said earlier, with dealing with how to bring equity in Cincinnati along racial lines. So, another task force. We love to have a task force. I'm all for task force as well, as long as the task force actually gets some shit done. As long as you're doing that, it's all good. Okay. Appreciate you. Well wishers. Appreciate you on social media. Thank you for being here. Yeah, we'll talk about it as well. But on the agenda that I saw yesterday, and again, stop me if I'm wrong here, I'm not sure if it came up, but, Chris Silbach had an idea about, ending no-knock warrants, okay? And I think that was sort of like delayed a little bit. They were dealing with some different things along public safety. Did that come back up yesterday? Does anybody know? If you do, I want to hear your thoughts on it. 513-873-7134. Some people, at least some people on city council, believe that no-knock warrants should be barred. No more no-knock warrants here in the Cincinnati area. So some people say it's irrelevant. Trump is winning with 200,000 people dead on his watch. No healthcare plan. Forest on fire. Lies for 4 years. FOH. Well, again, we mixing things up because you're talking about now as opposed to what you said earlier. Is you said back when I was saying that was years ago. So years ago, back when we had the Mueller investigation and Trump remains, he still had these Supreme Court justices in front of him. Yeah, Trump is winning. The Republican Party has been winning. They have won. Despite what you said, Tracy, they have won. They won and because their plots worked to transform the U.S. judicial system. On the federal level and the Supreme Court level, Trump is winning. If Trump is defeated in November, guess what? The hundreds of people that he appointed are going to stay on the federal bench. And all of the Supreme Court justices that he put in place, they're going to stay. So on that level, Trump and the Republicans have won. No doubt about it. 100%. Trump is winning. Trump beat the Mueller investigation. He beat Mueller like he was just a piñata, right? He beat him like a piñata, the Mueller piñata. He beat the impeachment efforts. He beat the impeachment efforts. So, yeah, I think multiple things can be true at the same time. Now, will he be reelected? We'll have to wait and see. But elections have consequences. There's going to be a Trump residue in this country long after the Cheeto in charge leaves. Long after that. It's undeniable. And we'll see it again on Monday when Amy Coney Barrett is going to be appointed to the Supreme Court. Yeah. Crystal writes, I'm not responsible either. Okay, we got some Scorpios in the house. Good to see everybody. Trump didn't speak on any policy he may have had last night. He was just BSing. I'll give him that he knows how to BS con artists. Okay. Tiffany writes, happy Friday, y'all. Crystal writes, we on purple? No, we're not on purple yet, but they're saying that Hamilton County is like one of the worst counties in all of the 88 counties in Ohio. Guess where we living at right now? We broadcasting live from Hamilton County in Ohio. I blame Hamilton Countyans for letting their guard down, not taking it seriously, playing a lot of games, caring more about money. Here it is right here. Hamilton County is among highest risk communities in Ohio. Let me put this on the screen right here and share this with everybody that you know, family. Please like and share today's show. I know I haven't been saying that, but please like and share today's show. It means everything. All right, let me put this up here. You got to see this. Here we go. Ohio's COVID numbers getting worse by the minute. You see that? Hamilton County is one of the worst counties in Ohio. There's 88 counties. Ohio is one of the worst. Meanwhile, your child's going to be in school on Tuesday and Thursday and Friday and Wednesday and Thursday. Something like that. Just yesterday, the Ohio Department of Health reported another record-breaking day of COVID-19 cases. And get this, Hamilton County has been labeled with a black star on its statewide risk map. If the county's rising diagnosis and hospitalizations don't plateau or reverse within 7 days, it could be the first in Ohio to reach ODH's highest alert level, purple. So 7 days from Thursday would be next Thursday. So your kids in CPS are scheduled to go back to school on what? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And it could very well be that on Thursday, it's announced by the governor that we're purple. Purple means that COVID-19 is at the highest, or I'm sorry to say not the highest. The purple color is a designation reserved for counties with quote unquote severe exposure and spread of the coronavirus. Look at this right here. Look at this. Look at this. According to the governor, 92.8% of Ohioans are living in a county that is red or high incidence. That's damn near all of us. That's damn near the whole state. The whole state is literally red. Literally. No hyperbole. 92.8% of Ohioans are living in a county that is in the red. So what's threat level red? That's public emergency, very high exposure and spread. But yeah, we're supposed to care about chicken wings. I'm supposed to care about chicken wings, right? I'm supposed to care about nachos and finger food. No, I don't. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. So as it stands right now, as CPS sends our babies back into in-school learning, in-person learning this week, because Monday is a virtual day for everybody, and then Tuesday and Wednesday, all the kids are coming back. They're returning in an environment that is nearly at the highest level possible in the state of Ohio. And Hamilton County, where Cincinnati is teetering on the edge of being the very first state to get the designation of purple. But I'm glad to know they got those filters on the HVAC system. I'm glad to know that. See, Mason Muller writes, Nate all over the place this morning. I mean, I'm talking about multiple things, but not all over the place. I know exactly. I'm super focused on what my point is. And if we're talking about the debates, I'll say it as I said again, black voters lost. That's my strongest observation. We need better. We need more representation. We need third party. We need a black party. If black folks, we need black media outlets to take control of these debates. That's what it is. That's what it is. But back to this. I mean, that is quite amazing, family. It is amazing. And all the smart people are saying that we're at the beginning of it. That the worst, what was the term they used last night? We're going into a dark winter, which I wasn't too fond of that. We're going into a dark winter. Winter is coming, right? And apparently the flu season, the allergy season, all these things are going to combine. And they're saying that it can make things worse as it relates to COVID-19. That's all in front of us, not behind us. Mike DeWine is urging Ohioans, begging and pleading with Ohioans to do what we can to avoid a purple outcome. That's what he says. Ohioans must play an active role in protecting each other. When do we do that in Ohio? We don't do that well in Ohio. That's not what we do well in Ohio, protecting one another. This is foreign to us. Quote, government is not going to come knocking on your door and making sure you're not having a party. A party. Let's go to the phones. Hey, good morning and welcome to the show.
Hey, Nate, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. Doing great. Who am I speaking with?
Hey, this is Michael giving you a call.
Hey, what's up, Mike?
I'm from Cincinnati. And, you speaking the right language this morning. I mean, we've been having these discussions, the Ice Cube and all that. But at the end of the day, black folks is losing, and not one party has said, hey, let me address your needs in front of a national audience, because they realize that to start singling us out as addressing our issues on a mass level in front of a TV audience, that's an automatic death sentence, to their political aspirations. And you're right, we need our black media, we need a black political party. We need people that can go in and sit down with these people and say, hey, if we don't get what we want, you ain't getting what you want. And I mean, it's challenging because we only make up 13% of the population. So white people can put in office whoever they choose to without our help. But if these people want our help, we got to start demanding better. And like you said, people missing the boat. Trump, the Republican Party, with all those judges, they're affecting policy for the next 40 years, regardless who the president is. And like you said, on the big picture of the political science, when you're controlling it, executive, legislative, and judicial, I mean, that's a powerful cocktail. You know what I mean? That's fentanyl on the street. So that was my 2 cents, brother. I appreciate everything you're doing, and you have a great day.
You too, Michael. Appreciate you, man. That's Michael. You can call in at 513-873-7134. We can always agree to disagree. All I ask is that you open your mouth, open your mind, should I say, before you open your mouth, or a tisk with a flick of the wrist, and we got to move on, man. I do not suffer fools lightly. You call up on some foolish ish, it's not going to go well. And we're going to continue. Good morning to you. Yeah, I appreciate the call. I mean, this is just my observations. We don't have to agree. You might have something else to say. What did you see? What's your take? What's your take? But back to this, I want to talk to my folks in Ohio in particular, because this is a threat to each and every one of us. You live in Ohio, to look at these numbers here. You've been living with your COVID-19 life and not really living your true life the way you were before COVID-19 hit. I'm here to tell you to buckle up. It's going to be a long winter. This is not over at the end of the year. This is not over in 2021. Get ready for it. And learn how to thrive in this new environment, because it's not going anywhere. Well, they say the strong will survive. The strong will survive and thrive in this environment. And people are thriving. Lots of examples of that. People can thrive. You can, I see all kind of brand new business ideas coming up, man. Black folks, white folks, whoever, as people are adapting to these COVID-19 days and times. There's no reason why you can't do it. There's no reason why you can't do it. There's no reason. Like I said, I am 100% convinced and on the road that when COVID-19 breaks, I physically am going to emerge even better than I came into it. Now, I had a real big impetus in my motivation. You know, February 2nd, I was almost up out of here. So my motivation is a little bit different, but the results are the same. You know what I'm saying? Use this time to get stronger in your personal life, in your business. That's it. Maybe your spirituality, however you look at it. Let me take a quick pause, family. We'll come right back. If you missed it, there's one clear loser of the debate last night. And guess who it was? We'll talk more about it on the other side. Live, local, and vocal. I'm Nathan Ivey. This is the Nathan Ivey Show.
The Nathan Ivey Show is supported by listeners. Go to www.patreon.com/Nathan Ivey Show and help Nathan keep the show independent.
At the Bloomberg Black Business Report, I'm Donna Wilson. Nielsen is out with its annual survey on the Black consumer. While Blacks are avid consumers of all forms of media, Blacks listen to the radio more, stream more audio than the general population, and spend more time on their smartphones than any other ethnic group. Overall, smartphone ownership for African Americans have grown to 98%. Black consumers are the number one ethnic group in watching live TV, playing game consoles, smartphone media consumption, and streaming audio. And some advertisers have caught on. The top 20 advertisers spend on media focused on Blacks rose to $3.86 billion last year. And over the past decade, there have been more successful Black brands, Black-owned businesses, and investment in expanded economic opportunities for African Americans. That's your Bloomberg Black Business Report. I'm Donna Wilson.
This is State Senator Cecil Thomas asking you to vote for Charmaine McGuffey for Sheriff of Hamilton County. As a former police officer, I know Charmaine is the only qualified candidate to be sheriff. She stands with our community and will lead with accountability. Her opponent used excessive force in the killing of an unarmed Black man and led the highly controversial Vortex unit. He is the last person we need to lead our sheriff's office. Trust the judgment of someone who knows. Vote Charmaine McGuffey for sheriff, a vote for justice.
This is Charmaine McGuffey asking for your vote. Paid for by people for McGuffey for sheriff.
So many Democrats voting for Charlie Winburn. Democrat Malcolm Timmons.
I'm voting for Charlie Winburn because he's the man that does what he says he's going to do, and he gets things done for our community.
Democrat Nettie Matthews.
Of course, I'm voting for my brother Charlie Winburn because he cares about the Black community.
Democrat Paul Booth.
I'm voting for my longtime friend Charlie Winburn. He will put people over party.
Democrat Zakiya Allen.
I'm voting for Charlie Winburn because he has a positive track record in our community.
Democrat Charles Wiley.
I am voting for Charlie Winburn because he would be accountable to us.
Democrat Klein Carricker.
I'm voting for Charlie Winburn because he helps to train hundreds of African Americans through his leadership masterclass.
Democrat Jafanya Wynn.
I'm voting for Charlie Winburn because he cares about women with children, providing child care and a school for K through 8th graders.
Democrat T. Renee.
I want to see the first African American county treasurer elected after 230 years.
Vote Charlie Winburn for Hamilton County Treasurer.
Paid for by friends of Charlie Winburn.
With the Bloomberg Black Business Report, I'm Donna Wilson. The Black Lives Matter movement has created a boom for Black-owned bookstores. Bloomberg Business Week reports Black bookstores, which are selling mostly online, have been inundated with orders for books on racial issues and people of color. Currently, there are about 120 Black-owned bookstores across the country, serving as keepers of Black culture, and prior to COVID, as community hubs where authors, activists, and residents exchange ideas. Meanwhile, the power of the Black consumer has never been more evident. A 2019 University of Georgia study found that African American buying power has nearly doubled in the last decade. It went from $971 billion in 2010 to $1.8 trillion today. That's your Bloomberg Black Business Report. I'm Donna Wilson.
You're listening to the Nathan Ivey Show. One man, one microphone, one mission. Now let's get back to the flow.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Some real interesting news there with the Bloomberg Urban Report, Black Data Report. Very interesting. I mean, what they had to say about the consumer trends of Black folks, smartphones. For someone like me, and really for all Black creators, that should be something that catches your attention. I've read recently that Charlamagne Tha God inked a deal with iHeartRadio to create the Black Effect Podcast Network. There's a reason why they're doing it. You just heard it. That's the reason why they're doing it, because Black folks are on the internet. And I would say to any Black creative, it's the reason why, and again, I'm a man ahead of my times, I get it. It's the reason why, on a political standpoint, Black creatives, if you use the internet, you should be aware of what net neutrality is and how it can potentially impact your business. If you're doing anything digitally, you should be aware of the politics that threaten to control the industry that you're in. Be aware of it. Very interesting. Yes, and advertisers are paying more attention to it. I'm telling you that firsthand. They are paying more attention to what's happening in the digital landscape, and in particular what's happening, with Black voices in the landscape. And it just makes sense. The internet, as I've been saying, and we all know this, is the future. The future is now. Black consumers spend more money on time doing gaming. You know what I'm saying? I love the idea of gaming entertainment. I've been a gamer for many, many years, not as much as I used to. I did get a Warzone win the other day. I posted on Twitter, for those that know what that means. I was pumped for a minute anyway. Big, big, big. I got a relative who is kicking off a gaming channel, Black gaming channel, right? It's a female. Matter of fact, it's one of my sisters. I got two little sisters. They're fraternal twins. And one of my sisters is a gamer. She's a heavy gamer. She picked it up for me and our other little brothers. And she is a heavy gamer, and she's invested in getting the equipment so she can start live streaming with her own YouTube channel. And I've been encouraging her and helping her along the way, but she's got it though. She's on Twitter now. She's doing her thing. Props to all the gamers out there. It's a big industry. It's a big industry. 513-873-7134. It's very, very interesting to all the Black digital creators out there. You should be paying attention. Let me go straight to Facebook and YouTube and say good morning to you. Kelly is first this morning. She writes good morning. Andrea writes morning, Nate and friends. Kevin writes good morning, Nate and friends. Hey, please take a second to like and share today's show. Fast Pitch is in the house. She writes good morning all except the K's and D's. Samantha writes good morning all. A lot of folks are saying happy Friday to everybody. Good to see you. Hey, Sarah. He writes, good morning, Nate and the Chopper family. White people ask those Black questions, right? Fast Pitch writes, was QAnon discussed? I didn't watch it at all. No, it was not. Alicia writes, because there is no Black agenda. Well, I mean, yes and no, Alicia. Like I said, both of the candidates have Black agendas. Joe Biden has what he calls a Black agenda. It's a plan for the Black community, a plan for African Americans if he should get elected. Donald Trump has the Platinum Plan. But, I kind of feel like each state should have its own agenda. I mean, because there's things going on in Kentucky that are particular to Kentucky and vice versa for Ohio and things like that and so on and so forth. So we'll see. Morning to you, Anthony. Dale writes, I disagree, not totally ignore, but to have this discussion, debates must happen through Black media. You're right. I still really see no difference between either person. Nobody really changed my mind. Good morning, everyone. It's Friday, TGIF. I can see that. Glenn writes, and yeah, we can blame Trump, of course. It starts from the head. Come on, people, let's not act brand new. What's up, Tash? She writes, they took their cues from the press. Daryl writes, terrestrial radio is dying. Well, terrestrial radio is not dying. Terrestrial radio is not dying. Terrestrial radio just has more competition. And that's just what it is. Like, you only have so much time. Like, you only got, let's say you get an hour for your lunch break. You only got an hour. So now it used to be that what was readily available to you was what you could put on your dial in your car. Now, with this, you can listen to media anywhere literally in the world, except for North Korea and parts of China. Anywhere in the world, you could tune this into the right platform and watch, listen, and or interact in real time with somebody that might be on the other side of the globe. So it's not that terrestrial radio is dying. It just has more competition. And it used to be that the car gave terrestrial radio an advantage, and it still does to some degree. But with these smart cars, man, have Wi-Fi signals now. You can link your phone to your car. Literally, I know folks that link their phone to their car and listen to my show just like they're listening to anything on the radio. And that is a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. So that's what it is. Scott writes, moderator wasn't black? No. In a time when the black agenda has been blasted in their faces, questions in that segment should have been laser focused. I agree. Dale writes, Nate, those topics will not come up on MSNBC. It should. It should. Black folks watch MSNBC. Black voters watch MSNBC. Yeah, it should. Scott writes, that's what I thought, not what Nate said. Okay. Ballhead writes, good morning, Nate and Choppers. Brenda writes, good morning. Yes, lift every voice is condescending as hell. Yes, it is. Kelly writes, good morning, great people. Hey, good to see you, Kelly. Nat writes, would you debate a liar? Well, not on my personal time. I mean, why would I spend my time debating somebody that's lying? It's a waste of time. But if I'm running for public office and the person I'm running against or have to go through is a liar, it is what it is. Ebony writes, good morning, Nathan, and good morning, Choppers. Good morning to you, Ebony. Love that name. Janice writes, good morning. Alicia writes, that's biological healthcare racism. Black people don't feel pain. Same reason why blacks aren't adequately medicated for pain in hospitals, right? Ebony writes, they use that no pain threshold on BS on black people, period, right? Oh, he was breaking glass with his bare hands. He must be superhuman. Speaking of white Republican candidates, I made a connect, or should I say a listener made a connect for me for Andy Black. Andy Black is a white male Republican who's running for Hamilton County Commissioner. And I'm looking forward to that conversation. That conversation is coming up sometime next week, I think it is. I want to say Wednesday. Let me double check so you'll know. And we're also scheduled to speak with Judge Melba Marsh as well. Just to continue that conversation, I want to talk with as many as the candidate as possible. As many as possible. Let's go to the phones. Good morning and welcome to the show. Yo,
Hello?
Good morning.
Hello?
Hey, what's going on? What's going on?
Hey, Nate, this is Daryl. Yeah, Nate, this is Daryl from Atlanta, man. This is my first time calling in, but
What's up,
I
Daryl?
chat to you all the time.
What's up, Daryl?
Hey, what's up, man? Hey, what I was trying to say, and it gets gargled in the Facebook message, is that we're not going to have everything you brought up. I agree with, but we're not going to have that. We're not going to have those topics discussed unless Black Media gets on the roll for hosting presidential debates. and that we can have that forum specifically catered to us, because in the mainstream media, that those topics are going to be touched on lightly, and they're not going to go in depth as the way we need candidates to go in depth and chop it up to our liking. And that's just a big, in my mind, that's just a big reach. That's a big, it's not going to happen unless we take control of that forum and get on the Commission of Presidential Debates to be part of that, the docket of hosting different debates for the candidates.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. 100%.
And so, okay. And so, you know, I mean, last night's debate, I thought, I mean, it was pretty much, you know, Biden held his own. I mean, she, meaning Kristen Welker, she tried to go into environmental racism. I think she touched on that toward the end, but, and, you know, that was toward the end and they were running out of time. But, I mean, had they not gone over in other areas, I think she would have kind of fleshed out that topic more. But she did bring it up, and that was the first time I ever heard in all the presidential debates I remember, I never heard the topic of environmental racism even broached. So, you know, what are your thoughts about that?
Well, have I heard environmental racism? I didn't hear it throughout the other two debates. I can remember that. I can't remember what happened 4 years ago. So I think you're right about that with these debates. But overall, man, I stand by what I said. I'm just disappointed in the lack of representation for black voters. I agree with you. I mean, it's all about doing it for ourselves. You know, that's why I big up BET and their alliance with the Black Economic Alliance. Because were you hip to that? Did you know that they did those black presidential primaries? They were just doing it last year.
I knew they did the primaries, but they need to take it a step further. And, you know, Roland touches on this all the time with black media. They need to take it a step further so we can get on that general election circuit. You know, because the Democrats they're amenable to having those discussions on black media. The problem is I don't ever see the Republican Party having those discussions on black media. And that and which comes to another question for the black Republicans and people supporting Trump. I mean, they don't address our issues, and they come out in general and sow platitudes to us. I mean, what I found what Trump was saying last night to black people was insulting. So even if you were on the fence about supporting him, you shouldn't even vote for him now at this point, because I mean, it was insulting. He was, I mean, what I did for blacks, and I mean, just his whole condescending, I just don't get why people are attracted to him. And he's talking down to us, and especially for black men, because as you said earlier, all he sees us as is, well, look, I did prison reform. Look, I got the black employment down. I mean, we're more than just two or three issues. I mean, what about black women health care? What about, some of the issues that you brought up about black wealth and how to grow that and how to, how to increase our wealth and the way in terms of the wealth gap between blacks and whites. Why, where are those discussions? And he just trots out these little simple things. He don't care. And the black Republican, I mean, if you're conservative, that's one thing. Donald Trump is not conservative. And so to even hide behind conservatism and support Trump, you're contradicting yourself. So, that's where I stand. But it's good to hear from you, bro. I don't get a chance to call in that much. So thank you for hearing me out.
Oh, thanks for making the call, Daryl. Good to hear your voice, man. Have a great weekend.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Daryl down in Atlanta. That's his first time calling in, but he's been a long time supporter of the show and Chopper, so I appreciate it. And the door's always open. Listen, go ahead and lock my number in. 513-873-7134. You can use it for my show and then any of the shows that we're doing now, these virtual streaming shows on CDM. And that way, if we come across a topic or we end up hitting a topic that you care about, boom, you want to shoot a shot? Go ahead and shoot a shot on in. Real simple. You want to call in and say, hi, Nate, I'm in. Tell us where you're from. That's always interesting. That's always good. You know what I'm saying? It don't always have to be topic related, and you can join the conversation. I won't bite. I am a super nice guy. Everybody says so. I am super nice. I'm one of the nicest guys in the media. I am a nice guy. Now, if you're on some dumb-ish, depending on the day, it is what it is. But I'm a super nice guy. We can always agree to disagree. And I'm just more interested in your thought process. I'm really, really curious about what you think. Let's go back to the phones. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Nathan. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Fame, what's up?
Oh, you're the man. I'm just visiting. Glad to hear that you linked an interview with a major political, or at least a major local political race with Judge Black. Is that his name, Judge Andy Black?
Judge? No, he's not a judge, but Andy Black. He's running for commissioner, Hamilton County Commissioner.
Right. I'm sorry. Against Reese. I'm sorry. You're right.
Reese, yeah.
That's wonderful to hear. From judging the debate last night, if I can relate it to, pop culture, Biden was Atlanta in the Super Bowl and blew a 28-3 lead. He was winning that debate. I don't know what happened to him. He just ran out of gas. But once they got to that race issue, you asked me, Trump cooked him. And I think you're very right in that black people were the biggest losers of the debate, because once they got to race, you have to look at Biden and say, how do you lose to Trump on race? I mean, Trump was like, how you going to do something now? You was the vice president 8 years and didn't do nothing. He was just clocking him. And I was like, oh, he's got a point there. Trump basically said it without saying it, like, you had a black president and didn't do nothing about race. So why should people trust you now? And Biden was dumbfounded. We had a Republican Congress. He was like, Joe, you got to talk them into it. I did it with the Democrats. He was smacking you. Whatever was going on that 8-10 minutes, Trump was totally prepared for. I'll get that to his people. Again, that doesn't reflect where my vote will go. But if I'm being objective and looking at that just as a viewer, I'm like, oh, he's smacking him around a little bit right now. And Joe knew it too. He had no comebacks on race. You understand? So, again, I left it unchanged in my opinion on anything. I have to say, I have to agree with you. You're 100% right. Black people were the biggest losers, and there's like the black bougie journalists, the black elite journalists. They're all saying that Kristen Welker acquit herself well last night. Mark Lamont Hill. Everybody's just like on her tip right now. I'm like, okay, I thought she kind of got, as the debate went on, she just kind of lost steam too and started giving too much. She started off giving too much deference to the sitting president.
Yeah.
And him being him, he just kind of took over. Just kind of took advantage.
Yeah.
Because I understand as a journalist, you're interviewing a subject, especially the president of the United States. There's going to be a modicum of respect you try to give that person. Whether you're interviewing a local judge, a senator, congressman, president of the United States, there's going to be a superintendent. There's going to be a modicum of respect you give them. And Donald just kind of took over and started like walking on, toward the end of it. I don't know what happened in that dynamic to have her lose such steam. Because at first I thought she was doing well, but as it went, it was just like, damn, baby, you I don't know. You're not as bad as the first guy, but this ain't a very good effort because he keeps talking over you. So that's that. And I just want to say in closing, Air Force San Jose State football, over 61 points. Put a lot of money on that. It's going to happen. I'll holler at you. Oh!
Appreciate the call. You know, we actually agree. I thought that the way he described last night is exactly what I saw. And I think that Trump softened up Kristen Welker earlier. As soon as her name came up, like she was going to be next moderator, Trump started running that propaganda. Like, oh, is she going to be fair? Is she going to be, oh, they got them another liberal. She's not been so nice to me in the past. That has an effect on people. And the effect is that in some people, it can make you tighten up. Like, well, let me not do what people are saying, what he said I am, even though it may not even be true. People run that kind of these little mental games all the time. Pay attention to it. So Trump softened her up earlier in the week, hitting her with that, her mama's a liberal, and her talking about her personal family and connecting her to his views, to fake news. You know, it got back to her. You know that her bosses at MSNBC heard that, CNN, wherever she works. You know, it got back. You know, her family talks. They see the tweets. And so now what it can do in a human being, in the moderator, is make that moderator even more sensitive to the perception that whatever Trump is saying is right. So what would you do? Well, you naturally give them more ground. You give them more deference because you want to be able to say, oh, what they said was going to happen didn't really happen. People, that's street games. That's basic. Just running mind games, Jedi mind tricks, basic, like all the Padawans in the Jedi, in the Star Wars Jedi Knight Academy, they learned that on the first day of Jedi Knight tricks. And I don't know. I mean, I'm glad somebody else saw it as well as I did. I thought she gave way too much deference to President Donald Trump, and he took advantage of it. In matter of fact, there was no difference between this debate and the first debate, really. Even with the little 2-minute thing, he did what he wanted to do. He answered the questions the way he wanted to answer them. He didn't answer questions when he didn't want to. See, one of the biggest things with the debates that I've noticed is the lack of the follow-up. You cannot moderate anything to anyone's satisfaction when you're talking about human beings and asking them questions and you can't follow up on a question. You might as well just go home. It's a waste of your time completely. You interviewing somebody, you're doing a debate, you're asking them questions. You know that what they just said is a bunch of bullshit. You know it. But you don't have the ability to call them out. Then you're going to lose every single time. And the audience is never going to get to the bottom of these issues because the person who's supposed to be regulating is not regulating. That's one thing I noticed through all three debates, the lack of the follow-up. The follow-up is where the Perry Mason moment is. It's always the follow-up. You ask a question, you listen, you follow up. You either redirect because the person answering the question is deflecting or they're pivoting, or you readdress. If you can't do that in terms of human communication, then you're basically moderating with both hands behind your back. So there's only so much these people can actually do. Let's be honest. I mean, the moderators are dealing with limitations that, again, this is the rhetorical game. You can't check me. So I can lie and you're never going to check me. I can say whatever I want to say and the moderator's never going to say, well, that's why Trump got upset with Leslie Stahl. Have you seen some of the clips? Trump would say something and then Leslie Stahl was like, well, come on. That's not true, right? The follow-up. And Trump got mad. That's why he walked out, because in a situation where somebody can keep following up and checking and readdressing and refocusing, they don't allow you to take control of the narrative. Last night and the two debates before that, whoever was talking could say whatever they want to say or not answer it. And basically it's just about wasting the time. If they ask you a difficult question, you just keep on talking. I grew up poor and I raised myself with hard work and chewing gum and baseball. And before you know it, time. They go on to the next thing. It's a waste of our time. Let's go to the phones. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Mr. Ivey. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Good morning, Drop.
Hey, thanks for having me, Mr. Ivey. And it's a pleasure to follow one of the members of the Alt Middle. Shout out to the Alt Middle, Fame Rothstein, and all their affiliates. Mr. Ivey, Fame Rothstein was right on point. That where Trump continued to put Joe Biden in a box when Trump brought up the 8 years of Obama-Biden or Biden's previous 40 plus years in the United States Senate. And again, the first black president and his vice president are back on the hot stove again, Mr. Ivey. And Donald Trump exposed it. He exposed it again, the lack of effort, the lack of policy, the lack of addressing the black agenda directly by the first black president and his vice president who went to a historically black college. Lie. Joe Biden was called out on numerous times by Donald Trump last night in front of the American people, asking him, is this what you're telling the American people tonight? Is it just more lip service? Is it a continuation of what you and Barack Obama did for 8 years? So again, Mr. Ivey, most people have already made their minds up. There's really no independence. There's nobody on the fence. This election, like you said many times, is about turnout. And the one segment of the Democrat Party that they need the most to turn out at an unprecedented level, the level in which Barack Obama received 95 to 98% in 2008 and 93 to 95% in 2012. Right now, currently, Mr. Ivey, before the debate last night, Joe Biden, with the polling that we have available, was at around about 87% of the registered black voters. So he's behind even Hillary Clinton from 2016. So we'll see what happens after tonight, because since last Saturday, the candidate for the Democrat Party has been in the basement. So after being in the basement 4 days, so-called prepping for this big debate last night, it didn't look like he did much preparation, Mr. Ivey, because there were many times where he would stutter and he keeps closing his eyes, Mr. Ivey, when he gets stuck on something. That is not good for the leader of the free world to be confused, indecisive. I mean, it just did not look good for Joe Biden. And the ploy that Donald Trump pulled in the first debate by going off the charts, it helped him in last night's debate. And Mr. Ivey, before you took my call, you summed it up well. You are a very smart black man, Mr. Ivey, and I give you a lot of credit. And that's why I mess with you, because you keep it real. You're fair, but you're biased, but you keep it real, Mr. Ivey. So we're going to find out what happens in these next 10 days, because Magic Negro 1 and 2, they need to get their butts on the campaign trail, because I don't think Joe Biden has what it is required to compete with the first gangster president, because he's going to be back on the campaign trail this weekend, Mr. Ivey. He's going to be pulling up in Air Force One in hangars across all these battleground states to put in his closing arguments to get 95% turnout in the Republican Party. So that's all I got, Mr. Ivey. You got anything for me before I hang up on this beautiful morning out here in California?
That's all I need, brother. That's all I need.
All right, thank you. Thank you for taking my call. Drop Squad 52, dropping science to anyone who wants to catch it. Walking while retired.
Walking while retired, man. We should all be so lucky. 513. Absolutely. Renee writes, yes, I care about a lot more than criminal justice reform, and I didn't go to an HBCU. Trump hasn't done anything for me. I believe Nace glossed over the environmental racism issue. Yeah, I think we just got a call from Daryl. Nat writes, we're disproportionately prosecuted, but the vast majority of black people have never been incarcerated. Where's the black wealth building plan? Janice writes, and Trump repeats, I've done more for black people than any other president. Please explain in detail. Like what he did for the HBCUs is the same thing Obama did for the HBCUs. It's really been no difference. They got these empowerment zones. How many people have ever been helped by the Trump empowerment zones? Oh, damn, Tracy, I just saw your message. I just saw the message. She wanted me to ask Drop, who does he think won? In terms of the debate, I think it was clear he felt as if Trump won. He felt like Biden basically was losing it and was falling asleep and was stammering and stuttering and things like that. I think it came out that Biden did have a history with stuttering, which it is what it is. Let me see. She did bring up the environmental racism, but that's separate than the black paint issue. No, I think the environmental racism issue is important because look at what's happening with Lincoln Heights right now. I mean, Lincoln Heights, the people of Lincoln Heights have been suffering from what I call environmental racism. And shout out to the Lincoln Heights Project, man. They looks like they're getting some real movement with the political types in a real way to bring back the sanctity of being at home without hearing gunshots and then the pollution, the noise pollution, the lead pollution, and 2 or 3 generations of that. What do you think is going to happen? It's going to have an impact, no doubt about it. Kirk writes, debates are a shop-worn, outdated process that gives points based on entertainment and sound bites. Especially in the current format. Like I said, no follow-up means that there's no real-time fact-checking. You know what I'm saying? If you can't follow up, then the candidate can say whatever they want to say and you just move on. That's part of the problem. Then secondly, we need third-party candidates to be a part of it. It just can't be Democrats and Republicans anymore. The conversation's too narrow. It's too narrow. Shauna writes, my middle school and high school children do not have to turn their cameras or mic, but they have to participate. My elementary child has to have at least her mic on, if no camera on. Janine writes, I've never heard of BNC, the Black News Channel. Never heard of them. Ernest writes, BNC is on Amazon Prime. Is it? Oh, that's great. I'm glad to see they're getting mass coverage because I love the idea of it. Black News Channel. It was started by J.C. Watts, who was a black dude, but he was a Republican elected official in Oklahoma, where he was a big football star, right? Oklahoma University, I believe it was. And so now he's one of the co-founders. They're not majority black owned as they used to be because the man who owns the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I believe he's of Middle Eastern descent, he owns some other teams as well. He might even own a basketball team, but he is now the majority owner of BNC, as I understand it. So they sold out a majority stake so they could get some investment. But I love the idea. We'll see what happens. Love the idea. Good morning, Nate and the Choppers. That's David. Ebony writes, like after a bad relationship, you have a break, figure things out, see where your life is going. We need a presidential break. No president for a term. Just see what happens. But who's going to do the role of the president then? I don't know. David Whitehead writes, I'm voting based on the cabinet positions. The top of the ticket is important, but who that person allows to influence policy is more important to me. Yeah, I can see that. That's when I remember being very disappointed about Barack Obama. He talked about change. And then when it came to his cabinet, it was a whole lot of people that was in the previous 2 administrations, both Republican and Democrat. I'm like, wait a minute, that ain't change. That's called recycle. You said change we can believe in, not recycle that we can believe in. It's 2 different things. Janice writes, something they could do for black people is change the credit rating system and loan credit card interest rates. Angela writes, good morning, choppers. Glenn writes, he's replying to Glenn. Celeste writes, same old leaders who all get funding from the city. Let's be more creative. Let's have some young grassroots leaders. Hey, Celeste, how you doing? You're right about that. Let's talk about this for a second. So the city of Cincinnati has this brand new, I've got the, what's that here? They got this brand new committee that has a lot of black people involved with it. And it's a task force. And they are tasked with the responsibility of creating ideas that will lead to equity, racial equity here in Cincinnati and beyond. Let me see if I can bring this up real quick. Yeah. Here it is. Yeah. It's called the Racial Equity in Policy Task Force. The Racial Equity in Policy Task Force. So here are some of the people that's going to be on the Racial Equity in Policy Task Force. Okay. So you've got Dr. Lisa Wilson representing the Black Nurses Association. You've got Reverend Mark Bomar representing the Baptist Ministers Conference. You've got Ali Kathman representing the Hamilton County Public Health. Should the Racial Equity Task Force have nothing but black people on it? You've got Bishop Bobby Hilton representing the National Action Network. My good buddy, Bishop Bobby Hilton. I think I've showed you my stories with you. Yeah. Dr. Roosevelt Walker representing the Cincinnati Medical Association. Lewis Arnold representing the Cincinnati Police Association. Joe Mallory representing the Cincinnati NAACP. Eddie Cohen, who represents the Urban League of Greater Southwestern Ohio. And you know that the Urban League is involved with creating, they get this brand new organization that's going to deal with that on here in Southwest Ohio as well. Can't remember the name of it. William West representing the Cincinnati African American Firefighters. Reverend Damon Lynch III representing the Community Economic Advancement Initiative. Eric Kearney representing the African American Chamber of Commerce. Melba Moore representing the Cincinnati Health Department. Renee Mahaffey Harris representing the Center for Closing the Health Gap. Denicia Porter, who's representing the All In Coalition. And from what I understand about the All In Coalition, this is like actually their wheelhouse. Like this is what they were created to do, is to come up with policy ideas that'll lead to more equity for black folks. Edith Thrower representing the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. And I think that's it. So those are all the people. This is a 2-year term. And those are all the people that were appointed, if in fact this already happened, or will be appointed to be on the Racial Equity and Policy Task Force. Now, what do you think about that? Like I told you, a lot of those folks are either, we know, or we're very, very familiar with, you know what I'm saying? And what do you think? Again, I mean, I from what I understand and kind of seeing these folks, I mean, okay, all good people. I'll stand by what I said earlier in terms of having some people that represent that next generation. I think that's really, really important. But we'll have to wait and see. And what exactly are they going to be doing on the Racial Equity and Policy Task Force? Well, it sounds like they're going to be, among other things, going to be coming up with policy recommendations. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like they're going to be coming up with policy recommendations. Okay, this was Wednesday. This happened on Wednesday, so this is already done. This group could make specific recommendations in the following areas: new investment in group prenatal care, mandatory lead testing and lead abatement of residential properties at the time of the property transfer, conversion of vacant or available property for urban farming and agricultural to eradicate food deserts, and other areas as the task force's own discretion consistent with its mission. So that's the task force. And I'm going to reach out to some of the folks in the task force as they get rolling to see what that exactly means. So what's going to be their focus? And then What does that mean exactly? So we got a task force. The task force come back and says, well, we need you to spend $4 million to do a racial equity task force summary so we can drill down on some of these issues. Then what happens? What's the use of having a task force if the task force can't go out here and force their will onto anything? You know what I'm saying? What's the point of having a racial equity and policy task force if they don't really have no real force? Other than just we say we're going to do it, what real teeth will the task force have? What real leverage other than, hey, we're on the task force. They said they want a task force. They didn't do what they would say we were going to do. And there it is. We've seen that happen with the collaborative. We get a collaborative. The collaborative makes everybody say the collaborative is the greatest thing ever. The politicians love to go on TV and talk about the collaborative, especially national TV. Oh, the mayor just loves to talk about the collaborative. We love to talk about CAA, right? Or CCA, Citizen Complaint Authority. We got these new task force and these new organizations, but when they make a recommendation and the city don't take it to heart and put it in place, then what happens? Not a damn thing. So, I mean, task force is cool, but do they really have any force? If the racial equity and policy task force says, you know what, we want you to adopt X, Y, and Z, they bring to city council. City council says, you know what? We like all these ideas. Put it to the shelf. What's going to happen? I mean, we found out this past year that the Citizens Complaint Authority, right? They had like 100 recommendations for CPD. And CPD said, There was Herschel Walker stiff arming them. Like, They were hitting you with the Bo Jackson stiff arm, like, save it. So, I mean, it's cool. It sounds good, but I mean, it sounds good. It sounds good. We're going to have the racial equity and policy task force, but what force do they really have? What leverage will they really have? Or will it be the same old leverage we already see? They put a recommendation in, the city or in some total council or the mayor ignores it, and then they go to media and say, hey, they're ignoring it. And then it just kind of dies. I mean, we don't need any more of these blue ribbon task force. Oh, it's going to be a task force. Woo, it's going to be a task force. And then they start making recommendations, and the recommendations just die on the vine. They get pushed to the side like the CPD, the Cincinnati Police Department did with the nearly 100 recommendations from CCA. They don't even act on them. They got no real authority. CCA has no authority to make CPD do anything. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, is there a way to put this in the charter or something like that? Maybe that's the mean we got to make. We're going to do it. Let's do it for real, City Council. Let's do it for real, Democrats. Let's do it for real, Republicans. Like, if we're going to do this whole thing, let's do it for real in the age of Breonna Taylor, in the age of post-Timothy Thomas and George Floyd. I mean, this is a step above a mural. This is a step above the mural, but it ain't a big step. I mean, it sounds good. And I'm, again, in no way am I saying that the people involved had the wrong intentions. That's not what I'm saying. I know some of these folks, I believe they have good intentions. What I'm saying is I see politicians playing these games with us over and over with the task forces that do nothing. They have no real authority. If the ish don't get done, all they can do is run back to media and say, they didn't do what they said they was going to do. Okay, where's the power? Where's the force? Well, the force is within you, right? I had to do it. I know it's a bad Star Wars joke. I had to. Task Force, Jedi Knight. I had to do it. The force is with you, Luke. The force is inside of you, right? Here we go. So it sounds good. A lot of good people. A lot of people that can, black movers and shakers here. People that's connected. People that's leading organizations. That is great. Great, great, great. But let's see when they come out with something that really challenges city council. Let's see what city council does. And oh, by the way, guess what? The city council that voted on them will not be the same city council in over a year, little over a year now. It's going to be a whole new council. You got 6 people. Like the primary folks behind this will all be gone. They'll all be gone. So whatever priorities that are put in place with the people on city council right now, 6 of them will not be there anymore, if not more. So when a new council comes in, they're going to have new priorities, a new agenda. Will it jive with the people who have been appointed here? If I'm a brand new city council person, let's say I get elected to city council a year from now. That'd be great for the city, by the way. Be great for the city. You have a real one down there who don't give a damn about being reelected, who only cares about moving the needle for people. But let's say that happens. Am I going to be beholden to these people? Or will it kind of be like in the NBA or the NFL where you get a new owner and then the owner wants to put their own head coach in place, or you get a new offensive coordinator and the offensive coordinator wants to do something different, right? It'd be the same thing. So I like it. It sounds good. I mean, it's admirable work. We need it, but how much power are they going to be really given? And as soon as they disagree with somebody downtown on city council, what happens then? Let's go to the phones. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, dear brother. How are you?
I'm doing great. Sister Iris, welcome.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let me take you to task just a little because it is Scorpio season, as my dear sister put in the comments on Spreaker, and being the Scorpio strong ass black woman sorry about that I am, I need to defend some things first and agree with some things. And then secondly, put some challenges back on all of us. One, the CA, you cannot make a broad brush, sweeping brush saying that none of the things that have been instituted are not on the books. They are. They're a myriad of things. What you just talked about around the CCA, the 101 recommendations, it is not written that they have to. They should. It should. And we shouldn't have to go through this whole piece of tug and pull to make the police department do that. That's why it's there. But it is incumbent upon us. We vote for these people, we put them in office, and then we go away. We don't stay at the table to make sure that things are implemented, to monitor them, to make them better. And that's the opportunity that you have right today, is to help us continue to push to get that done. Secondly, you were talking about, and that's just recently. So we're talking about a whole gaggle, hundreds of policies that have been changed with NCPD that are on the books today because of the CA. So when we talk about it, let's not just say none of it's work, because I don't want people to think that, and then we go back to being very apathetic and we won't do anything. Go, see, I told you that don't work. That's not true. We sacrificed a lot, and I don't appreciate when black people step on other black folks' sacrifice. Let's not do that. Let's talk about what we're talking about, as Joe Biden said last night. So I'll give you some on that. I'll give you some on others, but I have to be real and say that a lot of the things that we have done are on the books, and that was in service to black people. The Equity Task Force won't be touching the work of the CA because the equity was placed in the federal lawsuit that we filed on behalf of black people. That in itself doesn't exist anywhere in the country, dear brother, not at all. And then you were talking about what the Urban League does. There is a social justice institute that does lie inside of the Urban League. They will be focusing on police policies outside of the city. Doesn't mean we're not working together. We're not coming together. We're not building because we are. But it takes all of us. And it takes more than just these meetings. It takes voting. It takes staying around. It takes being present. It takes all of that. And then thirdly, I do agree with you on the task force. And task force is pitiful, but this is what politicians do. I do believe this was a brain trust of PG and Jan Michelle Lemon Kearney. And so instead of talking to the task force members, talk to the people that created the task force and ask them how will they give them the power to do what they're asking them to do. The last thing I'll say is that there are a lot of people out here focusing on policies that are equitable, like the All In Coalition is focusing on policies that impact Black women in the city of Cincinnati, city and the county. And so there's a lot of folk working on policy, but we need to be clear about what it is, how much power they have. Is there a budget attached to it? What specific areas? I heard some things around nursing. I heard, I hear you because, as much as I love Lou Arnold, he's not in the policy making space. As much as I love Rav, he can't make the Port Authority give us our money that we are supposed to have gotten to do development. So we got to be clear about what people and how people ask us to do things. So I just wanted to add that to your conversation this morning, dear brother.
I appreciate it. Thank you for the
You
clarification.
got any questions for me? You got any questions for me?
Well, I mean, the one question that comes up is, and so I can be more on point when I talk about in the future, is what is that line? Because I hear what you're saying, and it registers true to me about things being implemented, but also remember those conversations that were being had in local media about what wasn't implemented. So, I mean, I just be interested in getting that information so that when I talk about in the future, I can be more on point with it. Is that somewhere readily available?
It depends on what you're talking about. If you're talking about data, as I think most of the conversation inside of the media talks about data, absolutely, you can go to Cincy Insights. Absolutely, any data that I have, I'll forward to you. I try to keep you informed as anybody else on the team. So you can get data. I'm not for certain, which media outlet you're talking about, but yeah, let's talk about it. Let's get specific and let's talk about it. And then let's be able to place it somewhere so people can get the information. I agree with you there. But that means we got to do some work because we keep asking the same people to do it that hadn't done it. And that is the politicians. What are we doing as the taxpayers? We're the ultimate bosses here. So what are we doing?
And speaking of ultimate bosses, like I read that the equivalent of the CCA in Colorado, their relationship is different with their police force. They've got it set in place where, if my memory serves me correctly, that their recommendations have to be put in place. And so my question is, how can we get that done here in the city of Cincinnati? Is that just a legislator thing? Is that a policymaker thing? Because to me, it's like, what's the use of having an organization that makes a recommendation and then the recommendations don't get implemented? Even though everybody agrees there might be good recommendations.
Absolutely. And so let me answer you this way. When we crafted and drafted and created the Citizens Complaint Authority, what we had was something that looked before CCAs where you could go in and you couldn't even file a complaint. You went into the police department, you talked to the sergeants about the police, and that's as far as it went. So now you have the CCA. Everything needs to evolve, dear brother. That's why I'm saying we have policing in the pandemics every Friday since March. We meet, if there's an idea, evolution, somebody doing something else, let's bring it to the table so we can begin to push our legislators to get it done. You're absolutely correct. And I don't think that it should take all of this, Nathan. We've been here before. We've been here. We've been there. The city has lost. The citizens lose. Let me just share this with you. Cincinnati is not an insured city. So whatever happens, if there's a lawsuit filed, when we have to pay attorneys, it comes out of taxpayers' dollars. It comes out of our pockets. So we're traumatized when police behave inappropriately. We're traumatized when we don't get the legislation that we want. And then we're traumatized for the third time when we have to pay for it. But that's because we won't help folk who are trying to get it done, push to get it done. That is how it is. So everybody, since the inception of the Citizens Complaint Authority, has taken what we have here, and they've innovated it. And so we have to do the same thing, but we can't just sit on our laurels thinking that they're going to do that. That just because we voted for them, that they're going to see things the way that we see them. The beauty is in the people. The people have the power. And so I'm just asking y'all to come and help us get it done. So if you got an idea, you know where I live, you know where I reside. And I reside right there in the policies around Cincinnati Police Department. And I'm open and available to any idea. We're working with national organizations, Campaign Zero, just brought in the Grassroots Law Project to see what is going on across the nation so we can rise our force to that level. But that requires somebody somewhere being at the table. Maybe not you, but I'm quite sure there's somebody listening on Facebook or somebody in the chop shop that wants to get at this work. But we do it in a very public way, and that is on Fridays, Policing the Pandemic. As a matter of fact, D-Ray will be on today, and we will be talking about the no-knock warrant situation, although the no-knock warrant isn't a problem that we can identify. But raid warrants are, and we're going to be talking about using the rubric that Campaign Zero has put together to evaluate our current policy, which is 12.700 in the administrative code. But our team of attorneys have went down and deep inside of that policy to make sure that they lift out every area of where a warrant is being served. And we're looking at the data there, and we're going to present to Council Silbach what we believe the policy change needs to be. But that's how we've been able to get the work done in the city. I appreciate the hard conversation. I don't have any problem with that at all, but I do have a problem when we won't come and help and get the work done. I do have a problem there. And this ain't easy. The work is bigger than, the work ain't talking about it. The work is about pushing it and getting it done. That's where the work really, really happens, as you know.
All right, Sister.
But yeah, I would get those two people in here and ask them why they created, what power. I mean, that's a great question, because when Black people are on task force and advisory boards, we don't get that power. We don't get the budget. We don't get the systematic help that we need to lift up the work that we need to do. This takes a lot of work trying to change policy. There's a lot of layers to it. There's a lot of acrimony and talking and pushback, because you always have the other side. I wish it was just that simple. I wish the current FOP president agreed that we need to implement all of those. Oh, and this is what I wanted to double back. The police chief did tell me around the 101 recommendations from CCA, because, we put that in form of a motion to the city that they actually, in fact, instruct the city manager to instruct the chief to get it done. He said that they had done over half of them, that they were already in place. We just haven't seen it. So we need to know where it lies, which ones is he talking about, and let's keep working on the other half. I agree with you. Mm-hmm. I throw my hands up on that one. You're absolutely correct. And it shouldn't be a matter of a choice. It should be you will. It should be you will.
Right. It should be a time frame as to when it's implemented, not if. But listen, thank you for the clarification, Sister Iris.
If there's a recommendation coming, if there's a recommendation coming from there, they should definitely have to do it. It should not be a matter of a choice. And then there should be definite timeline when it will get done. I look forward to talking with you. Hopefully anybody can come and join us. We're open. We go live on Facebook at 4. Come and hear what we're talking about around the no-knock warrants and raid warrants. Appreciate you.
Yeah, same here. That's Sister Iris. Appreciate the calls. Keeping us on point this morning. Very interesting. And as it relates back to the Equity Task Force, she's right about that. And that's where I'm going with it. I mean, don't let this just be another window dressing or a game. They should tell us, what does this mean exactly? Will they have a budget? What can they do with the budget? Will it be their recommendations will 100% be implemented, or will it just be another source of information to tap into if elected officials, if members of city council choose to do that? Is that a value? You might say that's still a value. I don't know. That seems less valuable than having an organization full of experts who put out an agenda or a plan, and then that plan is aggressively implemented. But that's just me. What do you think? Let me see here. Oh, okay. It's 9:44. I got to take a quick break. We'll come right back. Yeah, we'll come right back. 513-873-7134. Somebody writes, winter is coming, Game of Thrones. Hilarious. Dante writes, they're just scaring the hell out of people and doing a good job out of it. What the F has done? What the F has Trump done for the black community? Help me out. Well, Janice, clearly you don't remember all the good things that Trump has done for you. He's the best president since Abraham Lincoln. If you keep saying over and over again, it'll make it true. Angela writes, it's so sad that these people in Hamilton County won't listen. I wear a mask. I keep my hands sanitized. It's scary for real. People, we have to do better. I agree completely. We make up a small part of the population, but they are always tracking the black dollars. News commercial during break. Why is that? Well, that particular news feed is about the black dollar. It's the Bloomberg Black Business Report, okay? And so they've got a narrow focus on that in particular. That's why you hear a lot about it. And there's a lot of folks out there that they get a lot out of it. I think it's very interesting as well. Apparently, Underground Railroad has a COVID relief fund. Just check. It's for operating expenses. Now, what I was thinking of is no one doing a community relief fund. Nelson Pills Jr. is something informal through Beloved Community Church. Haven't found a formal effort, know of any. Let me see. Kendall writes, good morning. TNT writes, pessimism will be our doom. The debate is only an hour and a half. Instead of trying to recreate the wheel with the new party, a debate should have been done on a black platform like the National NAACP with the black moderator, Roland Martin, and then everything we care about would have been addressed. But mainstream media will only fit us in a segment. It don't mean there is no black agenda by these politicians. Valid points. I would like to see that. I would be down with that. So let's say they do 3 presidential debates. If one of them was the black presidential debate, I'm down with that. I'm down 90 minutes. All the questions are focused on us and our issues. Moderators are allowed follow-up questions so they can catch you when you're lying or you're trying to mislead or deflect or whatever. I'm down with that. I'm down with that. 100%. Bernadette's in the house. She writes, guys morning can't wear hoodies, but who is that masked man? Sweet revenge. Remember the 15th of November. Tell you what the internet world has opened up. The NWO, mind versus technology, global warming, identity theft, Russian votes ruling America, future soon one world king. Okay, good to see you, Bernadette. Shannon writes, politics will never change for black people unless we as black people take control of what we already control. Morning, Nate. I'm with you on that. Sean writes, good morning, Choppers. I think Trump has Biden stumbling a little bit. Just an observation. Well, I mean, if you stutter, you stutter. It has nothing to do with who you're debating with. Yeah, sure, the moment can press upon you and bring a little more stress, but it is what it is. The moderator was black. Really, is she? I thought she was of a different descent. It's all good. Trump is peeling off more black men through pessimism. Like Trump said, what do you have to lose? My question is, what are we going to do when you wake up November 4th and Trump is reelected for 4 more years? What do you have to lose? That's very a low bar. The real question should be, what do we have to gain? And if we're not gaining, why do it? Sean writes, Kristen Welker is the daughter of a Native American father and African-American mother. Blessings. That makes her black. Bernadette writes, one world king, future NWO with the intergalactic internet ruling minds. Mind versus technology, generations, Russian votes. Bernadette is hilarious. What is going on? Florida family writes, good morning, Mr. Ivy and the Choppers. Mr. Orange was looking flustered last night. He knows it's over. The National NAACP retweeted last night, Flint still don't have clean water. Is that right? If you want to specifically know what a candidate's plan for Black America or any other specific group of people, Those people need to have those conversations with their local party offices. Reach out to the Republicans and Democrats and say, this is what we know and how it affects us. Personally, I don't want a national debate to be specific because I don't want to hear what candidates are going to do for Latinos, LGBTQ, Quakers, etc. I want to hear plans for universal platforms that are important to me. I want to hear both, Danita. Thank you for the float. I want to hear both, honestly. I want to hear a plan. I want to hear the universal plan because a rising tide lifts all boats. But I also want to know what specifically you're going to do for people like me. That's just as important, if not more important to me. Why can't we do both? Why can't we have it all? Black men will save the day for Trump. Why is there a schism between black men and black women when it comes to Trump? I mean, it's small, but there is a difference there. Seems like there's a few more black men out there, or black men are more inclined to be open to Trump's message than black women. Is it because of what exactly? See. Janine writes, they don't care about us having our black wealth increase, but only to use us as black people to increase their wealth. Jajerica writes, not trying to stir the pot, but contrary to what the host communicated last night's moderator is an African-American woman. Okay. Blessed Beauty writes, good morning, Nate. TNT writes, yes, she is black and she did the best job out of all of them. Again, we can agree to disagree. I thought the second one had better questions. Brent writes, I don't think 45 thought she was black or he would have called her nasty. Maybe. The debate was entertaining to say the least, sad but true. I was more entertained by the first one, but it had some mild entertainment factor to me. It was mildly entertaining. I'm going to be honest with you. I wasn't like blown away with it. It was what it was. It was a nice, semi-polite debate. Except when Trump was bullying his way over the moderator. Yeah, I hear your question, but I'm not going to answer that. I'm going to answer my own question. All right, let me take a pause for the cause. We'll come right back. It's the Nathan Ivey Show, live, local, and vocal. Very close to 10 a.m. this morning. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
The Nathan Ivey Show is supported by listeners. Go to www.patreon.com/Nathan Ivey Show and help Nathan keep the show independent.
Senator Cecil Thomas asking you to vote for Charmaine McGuffey for Sheriff of Hamilton County. As a former police officer, I know Charmaine is the only qualified candidate to be sheriff. She stands with our community and will lead with accountability. Her opponent used excessive force in the killing of an unarmed black man and led the highly controversial Vortex unit. He is the last person we need to lead our sheriff's office. Trust the judgment of someone who knows. Vote Charmaine McGuffey for sheriff, a vote for justice.
This is Charmaine McGuffey asking for your vote, paid for by people for McGuffey for sheriff.
Why are so many Democrats voting for Charlie Winburn? Democrat Malcolm Timmons.
I'm voting for Charlie Winburn because he is a man that does what he says he's going to do, and he gets things done for our community.
Democrat Nettie Matthews.
Of course I'm voting for my brother Charlie Winburn because he cares about the black community.
Democrat Paul Booth.
I'm voting for my longtime friend Charlie Winburn. He will put people over party.
Democrat Zakiya Allen.
I'm voting for Charlie Winburn because he has a positive track record in our community.
Democrat Charles Wiley.
I am voting for Charlie Winburn because he would be accountable to us.
Democrat Klein Carricker.
I'm voting for Charlie Winburn because he helps to train hundreds of African Americans through his leadership masterclass.
Democrat Jafanya Wynn.
I'm voting for Charlie Winburn because he cares about women with children, providing child care and a school for K through 8th graders.
Democrat T. Renee.
I want to see the first African American county treasurer elected after 230 years.
Vote Charlie Winburn for Hamilton County Treasurer.
Paid for by friends of Charlie Winburn.
This is Zoe Wesson. What side of history do you want to be on? The right side or one where Black people continue to be underrepresented in Hamilton County? Now's your chance to end 230 years of exclusion. In Charlie Winburn, we have a man that's received the Cincinnati NAACP President's Award, who fought on the Ohio Civil Rights Commission for 6 years, who received the Baptist Ministers Conference Community Service Award. Charlie Winburn has received the Southern Christian Leadership Conference Award and was honored by WDBZ The Buzz as Pastor of the Month. We know Charlie Winburn, and he knows us. He's the right man to put us on the right side of history. On Tuesday, November 3rd, vote for Charlie Winburn for Hamilton County Treasurer.
I am Charlie Winburn, and I'm asking you for your vote on Tuesday, November the 3rd, paid for by friends of Charlie Winburn.
Senator Cecil Thomas asking you to vote for Charmaine McGuffey for Sheriff of Hamilton County. As a former police officer, I know Charmaine is the only qualified candidate to be sheriff. She stands with our community and will lead with accountability. Her opponent used excessive force in the killing of an unarmed Black man and led the highly controversial Vortex unit. He is the last person we need to lead our sheriff's office. Trust the judgment of someone who knows. Vote Charmaine McGuffey for sheriff, a vote for justice.
This is Charmaine McGuffey asking for your vote, paid for by people for McGuffey for sheriff.
This is the Nathan Ivey Show. Get ready to be engaged. Get ready to be informed. Get ready to be enraged by the man City Beat magazine called a talk radio rebel. And your host, now back to the show.
Hey, good morning, family. Yeah, I just got the word. I got to make a quick move, so I've got to leave at 10 a.m. this morning. As I said, my son is in virtual learning, and my wife and I are working from home. Later on today, coming up at 12:30 p.m., check out the Is It Just Me podcast. Donnie talks Ice Cube, 50 Cent, J-Lo, and the debates. All that coming up today at 12:30. You can watch live on Facebook. You can interact live on Facebook. It's coming up later today. Good morning to you. Yeah, I got to make a quick move here, so I got about 4 minutes left. I know we got a couple of callers online here. Perhaps they can end the show for us. I'll let them know our time is very, very short. We got about 3 minutes maybe, so probably enough time for a call. Let's see. We got John from Florida. Hey, John, good morning to you. Yo, John, how you doing? Yo, John. Call me back, John. Call me back. I think we have Mason Mahler as well. Again, I've got 2 minutes in. Can definitely squeeze in a quick call. If your call is in fact quick, we can did that this morning. Over the weekend, the Dope Chicks Collective on Sunday at 1 p.m. Tune in for the Dope Chicks Collective. That'll be Sunday at 1 p.m. And many things happen over the weekend. Hopefully we'll come back on Monday and we won't be in the purple. That's what I'm looking for over the weekend. I don't want to be in the purple going into next week. If that happens, you know what that means. Good morning to you. 513-873-7134. Let me see here. Let me catch up here. Carol writes, is that Carol? Yeah, Carol writes, Obama had Biden for vice president and Mitch McConnell in the Senate. With any luck, Biden will be president with Kamala Harris as vice president and perhaps Elizabeth Warren running the Senate. Change is coming. Biden killed it with 2 words, why they couldn't do more, the Congress. Georgina writes, Democrats are weak. Angela writes, I already voted. Biden Harris. Brent writes, Drip sounds like he's on the same meds that 45 was on at the beginning of the debate. Jim writes, so you want the actual criminal racists who actually colluded with Russia and actually committed quid pro quo, Hunter, put them down. Really? Really, Jim? Not drop. We have so many black men who envy and even hate Barack Obama because they know they will never measure up. Then she writes drip, drip. So y'all going hard. Anybody thirsty? Thirsty? Hilarious. Somebody sounds, you sound like Orange's bottom chick. So y'all wrong. Jim writes, we aren't drinking the blue poison. Let me flash forward here, trying to get as much as possible. Sister V writes, or not Sister V, but Victoria writes, Corona case increases set new record, rising over 77,000 in one day. 45 is still having super spreader events. What community is being hit the hardest? We need to vote. Do blacks need the president to come up with a plan? How about blacks come up with a plan, blacks agree on a plan, and blacks implement the plan? Why are we waiting for the government? I agree with you on that. Janine writes, thanks for mentioning that BNC is on Amazon Prime. Catching up here. CincyNice.org. What is that? I'll check that out later. Thank you, Carol. CincyNice.org. Courtney writes, no young people on that board. What's going on? Ask some CPS students. Don't think it's only needs to be black people either. Add other races as well. Courtney, I'm with you on that. I'm Ricky. I'm with you on that. Courtney writes, add fresh faces to that board. Absolutely. TNT writes, who is on the racial equity task force? Someone that we don't both know. Joe was on the task force. Joe Mallory. Task force is to take property ownership from the hood. Just watch. Really? Why would they do that? Shirley writes. Keep our eyes on that. Really? Carmelita writes, good morning, folks. It's 10 a.m. I was trying to get as much in as possible. I got to make a move. Unfortunately, it's got to make a hard move this morning. Unfortunately, it's going to be a hard stop this morning. I got to make a move. As I said, my wife is working from home, as many people are, and my son is in virtual learning, and I got to make sure he's tight. We'll talk again, perhaps over the weekend, but certainly on Monday at 7:30. Make sure you check out the Is It Just Me podcast today at 12:30. You ever look at the world and wonder, is it just me? Well, you're not alone. Donnie B does as well. You can do that. Check out the podcast, should I say, today and every Friday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern time. Have an excellent rest of your day, choppers. I got to make a move. All right? Be well. Be blessed. I'm out.